the slides. Next week is mostly all slides all the time. So, what is that? What organ is this for your quiz? That's a testis. That's seminiferous tubule inside a testis. So, you're supposed to review the testis again. You know this. Let's review now some of the cells. So, what are the cells on the very outside? Spermatogonia, and they're going to make what? Sperm. But you can't say sperm next week because that wouldn't be correct. So if you are between here and here, you're a spermatocyte, which means sperm cell with dollars attached. So spermatogonia or spermatogenic or the outside. Spermatocytes are as you go into the center. When you're in the center in a testis, those are sperm what? Tids. Because we're immature, they become sperm formally at the epididymis. So next week, you can't just say sperm. You got to say spermatogonia, spermatocyte, or spermatid, or sperm, depending on what we're talking. The level of detail there. But otherwise, you kind of know this, right? The fun begins when we do the girl part. Because now everything changes.
Can I ask a quick
Yes.
question about that slide?
Sure.
So, was there an obvious sustentacular?
Max, or Josh, can you let those shades down, please?
That one.
Thanks.
I'm going to go with those two. Sustentacular Sertoli, sustentacular Sertoli. Okay, those two. They just look odd. Usually they're pointy and triangular. We're going to zoom in. So here's a testis. Kind of big. So how do I know that's a testis? Well, I see the little lobules, the rooms.
You can see the rete.
I can see a rete here, basically. And I can see the little coiled tubes inside of them. That's what a test would look like, yes.
You said the rete is netted. Is
Yeah.
there something inside the net? Or is
Yeah,
it-
basically it's anything about here.
And
so
what
it
is
looks
that
good.
tissue? Or is it still the tubules? Or?
Yeah, basically the tubes coil in the beginning and merge together, but it looks netted.
Okay.
It's the same. Basically, you're transitioning from this to that.
Is there a word for the connection between the lobule and the rete?
I'm sure there is. I don't know what it is. I'm
Okay.
sure there is.
All right.
Right. So let's name some stuff. Ooh, I see a layer on the outside of my testis. What would you call this tunica on the testis itself? Albuginea. That's the tunica albuginea because it's on the outside of the testis. The vaginalis would be outside of that. That's your tunica albuginea. Always the white of the testis. Let's zoom in on a testis. So, on lab, when you get a slide, which you will, you want to be able to say that you know the gland or whatever. So that's a testis. How would I know that's a testis? What do you see that tells you this
It
is
has
probably
tubules and
Lots of
interstitial
tubules.
glands.
So-
I mean, cells.
A testis will have lots and lots of circles all over the place. These are the seminiferous tubules. And what you want to do in your head is look at the circles, identify how many cells make up the circle. Right? So, if you look at each circle, how many layers of cells between the outside and the center would you say average? Lots or one? Lots. So seminiferous tubules are going to have multiple layers of cells as you go from the outside of the tube toward the center. And in the center you'll see tails of the sperm. Okay? That's going to help you see the difference between that slide and the next one I'm going to show you, which also has tubes. I'll show you first. This one here. Here's a tube. Is that a testis tube?
Epididymis.
No. How do you know it's not a testis?
Because it doesn't have any layers.
It just has one layer, right? So one difference you want to catch on to is how the tubes look different. This is an epididymis. So it has tubes, but they're a different shape and number of cells. So you want to just kind of notice the round tube. So let's go back to testis.
Are those little sperms in there?
Those are little spermies in there, yes. So in testis, you have lots of circles. There are multiple cells per ring. You'll see the tails pointing in the center. And they're pretty closely put together. They're mostly round. They're not always round, but they're mostly kind of roundish. Right? So you see, yes?
All that white space that was in the epididymis tubule, like, is that just room for storage?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. But inside your testis, it tells me you're supposed to know some things. So let's do that. And you're going to focus on the cells that are in here. So we're going to zoom in. Here's one seminiferous tubule. What you want to do in your head is go from the outside in. So, the cells on the outside, like these ones, what do you think their job is? From lecture, you learned this last week.
Blood sperm barrier.
Blood sperm barrier, because that's where we make the sperm, right? So what kind of cell would they be if they're going to make or generate sperm?
Go, yeah,
Spermatogenic.
You can say spermatogony, you can say spermatogenic, you can say sperm mother cell,
stem cell?
stem cell, you know.
I like
They're all basically synonymous with each other. But the cells in the ring are making the sperm and shoving them down the tube. Right? So these ones on the outer part of the ring are going to be your spermatogenic, spermatogonia, whatever you want. Okay. Now, take a look at this cell right here. You notice it's not round. It's kind of strange looking. Here's one just like it that seem to be stretching down multiple layers.
Sustinacular?
Sustinacular, Sertoli, or nurse cells. That's a cell to help the other cells. They don't make sperm. They feed and clothe and nourish and congratulate and give stickers to sperms.
Oh.
Those are Sertolis or sustentacular cells. Then you want to look at these cells right here. What layer of the circle are these ones in?
Interstitial.
They're not in the circle, so they're interstitial or Leydig cells. So the ones outside the circles are named differently than the ones in the circle. All right. For your viewing pleasure, since I don't think you noticed this, we have a beautiful poster over here that I would recommend you take a picture of with your phone at some point in your college career by next week. Because this will highlight all those differences I just taught you on the screen. This will save you on your exams. So make sure you take a picture of the poster. Right? But let's zoom in some more.
Is a Leydig cell secrete testosterone?
Yes, they do. That's where the hormone comes from. So the spermatogenics are doing sperm, and the Leydigs are doing basically hormones. So on this picture, one surface tubule. Name this cell.
Spermatogenic.
Sure, spermato, something, right? Name the sperm. How about this funny looking kind of cell here? Here, he's weird. That's a nerdy cell. How about this cell way over here? Interstitial or Leydig, sure. So you want to get your visual, you're looking at the circle and naming cells within or without.
Oh, lady.
Right. That's those.
But you said we can call them nurse cells.
Right, they're all same. So Sertoli or sustentacular or Leydig are all the same. I'm sorry, Sertoli, nurse, and sustentacular. Leydig, and they all have multiple names. Just pick one. Right? So let's do the epididymis. I'll do them in the order of the sperm, not the list. So how do I know that's not a testis?
It doesn't have no layers.
Doesn't have as many layers. There's only like maybe 1 or 2 versus like 12.
And it has a dark.
Not as crammed together.
Yeah.
Notice that they're funny shapes. This is like a oval, right?
It's a large empty space too.
Right, big empty space. So you want to lose all those clues and know that this is not a testis anymore, Dorothy. This is an epididymis. We still have circles, but they're different looking circles. So, let's zoom in on our epididymis. Here's another view. So there are lots of circles, but they're not as busy a circle. They're different shapes. They seem to have a bigger white space. You know, lumen.
That's
Fancy way. One more. So, if this were on a test and I were to point to something, you'd have to tell me what these funny looking shapes you see around here are.
Sperm. Oh,
Yes.
Stereocilia, PCC, ciliate epithelium, whatever word you want to throw at me. But those are the cilia to help push the sperm out of school for where they go. Right? So what are these things in the center then, Smarty? Those are the sperm, right? They have tails and all that. If you look carefully, there's a little red line right about here and there. What is that red line, pray tell? Smooth muscle. So we're mostly using cilia, but we also have some smooth muscle in there. Right? But again, that's a very different looking circle than the testis circle. Right? So let's keep going. Let's find a ductus deferens or a vas deferens. And the way you're going to tell that on a test is look at that muscle. Right? Lots of muscle. Why would it need muscle? Retracted squirt sperm, right? So all you gotta do is be able to see that and say vas deferens. Now, usually this is kind of star shaped, but doesn't have to be. The trick is there's a lot of muscle bringing that tube. You're going to squeeze the sperm. To show you that I'm not making this up much, here's another view. Again, lots of muscle. Solid tube. Again, this, but that's not going to help you much. You want to look at the muscle. So on the slide, if you saw that, you say, hey, I see lots of muscle. That's a vas deferens. Walk away. All you got to do. Make sense? Reproductive deferens. So what do you think a seminal vesicle would look? Oh, yeah, yes.
So we don't need to know the 3 layers of the
No.
smooth muscle, just that it's multiple layers of smooth muscle. That's what it is.
Yep. Yeah, your list, all you got to do is know the gland, the organ. So vas deferens. Let's see. Let's do a seminal vesicle. What do you think it would look like based upon the models?
Lots of fluid.
Lots of colon.
White space.
Looks like a sponge or a honeycomb.
Sponge, yeah.
Because the things you see on the models are trying to represent this look. It looks like a sponge, honeycomb, some kind of abstraction. But you're going to see lots and lots of these funny looking, spongy looking things. So what do you call those spongy looking things formally? Mucosal folds, because they're full of mucus.
Looks like a dolly painting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever will get you there. And so, hey, I see a little bit of red stuff right here. I wonder what that red line could be. Huh. Smooth muscle again. But you're going to see lots of folds. Looks honeycomb, looks spongy, whatever you want. It looks like the models have on them. Right? And I think, oh, forgot my last slide. How could I forget my last slide? Now, unfortunately, J-Doc does a crummy penis. That comes out wrong, I know. I'm going to get you a different penis here. Hold on. Put 'em off in. Classic penis. So, let's figure out what you're supposed to know about said penis. Well, I think you're supposed to name the parts. So let's name the parts. Let's do the eyeballs of my clown. What are they called?
Cavernosa.
The corpora cavernosa. The mouth of said clown.
Sponginosa.
Corpus spongios. The urethra, you know. What kind of tissue is the eye and the mouth made out of? Rectal tissues. But what physically on your list would be a place you could sponge fluid? On your list, anything that might represent a sponge or a space?
Venous cavities.
Venous cavities. So in English, these are the venous cavities. You also see them called spongy cavities, the rectal cavities, rectal sponge, pick a word. But this is where the blood fills.
I thought the spongios.
Right. Then let's figure out, what do you call this round thing here and that round thing there?
Artery.
Because the arteries are deep arteries. So the arteries are in the deep part of the eye. We've got the veins up in the forehead, but these are the cavernous bodies. Now, one more word. What do you call this wrapping tissue that goes around the eye, around the mouth? What is that layer? Tunica albuginea. One more time. So you're going to use the same language from the testes.
So,
Make sense?
can you show that again?
Tunica albuginea?
Just
Basically,
red.
it's red.
All the dark purple.
That's the fibrous bands that separate the... You don't have a vaginalis in your penis. You just have an albuginea. Vaginalis in the intestines.
What is around all of that? What tissue?
Basically, this is called the superficial fascia, which is another wrapper, and then this is basically dense. Is it irregular? I want to say irregular. No, irregular. It's dense something. Don't tell me which one. And then skin.
Okay.
So it's basically just skin on top of a fascia on top of a bunch of blood.
Why aren't there any deep arteries in the spongios?
Because you have the urethra there instead. So you use smaller arteries. There's not the big ones. They're in there. There's not. Name it.
Just saying.
That's sperm.
Yeah.
Epididymis.
Is this a boy or a girl part? Okay, we're good. We got some marks. So that it's got tubes, right? So there's only two options for tubes.
Epididymis.
Testis or epididymis? Which one?
Epididymis.
Epididymis, because I have big
Because there's
tubes,
only one layer.
only one layer in the ring, lots of sperm, there's lots of white space. So that's not a testis. Testis have multiple layers, be really tight. So it's
Aren't those like
epididymis.
some sperms there in the interstitial there?
Yeah, it's sperm.
They're like actually moving around there, yeah.
No, that's just. What that is. It shouldn't be out there, no.
They
It
should
should be in there. Classification, so it's a little different.
Lots of circles.
Let me zoom in on that.
Oh, no,
Yes, it
yeah.
does
Kind
have
of
the coastal
thick, though.
folds in it.
This is a
Seminal vesicle.
It'll look like that. Seminal vesicle.
Looks like a sponge.
Like a sponge. Here's my mucosal folds, here's my smooth muscle, that's my sponge.
That's easier to see.
Right, that's the sponge. Seminal vesicle, that's the gland behind your bladder.
That makes sense.
I can't see,
Fine.
I can see the rice patties.
Let's try. What do I do? Oh, I know.
It's an eye.
It's testes.
It is a
Testis.
testis. Very good.
Oh, wow.
So, let me play with that one for a second, and ask you something specifically about it.
Yeah.
What, seminiferous tubule?
Yes. Yes. So, where my mouse is pointing, that cell there.
Interstitial.
Dannual, yes, interstitial cells, or Leydig cells, right? The ones that are between the circles. Right. Too easy, Drill Sergeant. No problem. You gotta tip your head sideways.
That's a penis!
That's a penis.
Oh.
Right? Angry clown. Alright? So let's name this red line here.
That is...
Tunica abuginea. Very good. Very good. Testes with seminiferous tubules. You know they're seminiferous tubules because they look like this. They have multiple layers, usually of cells, radiating down. The sperm would be in the center. Spermatids, to be formal. The spermatogenic cells would be the ones on the outer side. So they're making sperm this way with meiosis. But then you have cells which are different looking, like number 7. Number 7 appears different than the other ones. That's a nurse cell or Sertoli cell, sustentacular cell. They help feed and nourish the other cells. The other ones that are different are the ones that are not in the circle. So these ones, which are interstitials, also known as Leydig cells, they make testosterone. So these make sperm, these make testosterone. Then my epididymis looks the same as this, circles, but the circles are different. These are usually one layer of cells, maybe 2, instead of multiple. They're bigger lumens than these, and you see a lot more sperm piled in the center than here. And that's where they go to grow up, basically. So this would be ciliated epithelium around the big lumen like that. Then a seminal vesicle, this is actually a lousy picture of it, in my opinion, but seminal vesicles could be sponge-like, honeycomb, as I show it. So it'd look like this, but these wouldn't be so nice and round. But it'd actually look more like this, but sponge-like, honeycomb-like, whatever, because all the fluid you make.